This is the Juicy Astrology for Sunday, January 2nd, Part 2, through Sunday, January 9th, 2022. I'm Divinely Jennifer. Welcome. Beauties, welcome to Basking in Mother Earth's Love, the astrology for January 2nd, 2022, Part 2, through January 9th, 2022. I'm Divinely Jennifer, intuitive astrologer, nurse, naturopath, and mama love warrior. As I mentioned in the video Against All Odds, the astrology for the new moon in Capricorn, I decided to break out the details for this week separately from the new moon because this week is so full and rich. Before I talk about the astrology though, I want to take a moment to address all of the physical symptoms that so many people, dare I say the majority of people, have been experiencing over New Year's weekend. While I do agree that what is happening is an assault on our crown chakra, not in the form of a strand of rogue DNA, but through stressors and triggers in the environment, I do feel strongly that what is happening is part of the ascension into the new earth. This is not to belittle anyone's suffering. I know that some of you have been really sick, and I'm so sorry to hear that. The symptoms for you guys, everyone, myself included, ranging from migraines to night sweats to nausea, even a yeast infection or two. You can test for the vid all you want, but like I said, this is not about some rogue strand of DNA. There are two ways to look at what's happening, and in some ways we have to see them both in order to choose the path on which we want to focus. So on the one hand, this is an assault through frequency. The further we move away from the Schumann resonance of the earth, the more stress it places on our health and well-being. If you're not familiar with the Schumann resonance, it's the beautiful frequency, low and slow, at which our beautiful planet vibrates. This is why we feel so beautiful and connected and why our whole being changes when we go out in nature. Because we're tapping into this resonance, and it literally changes our own frequency to be more harmonious with all of nature. We have to acknowledge, of course, that there are nefarious forces out there who are manipulating frequencies in order to manipulate human beings. The good news is many of us are already aware of this and in some ways are able to stay out of the fray. There are some people out there, you may be one of them, who is gallantly fighting as a love warrior against these nefarious forces. To you, I say thank you. The problem is, it's easy to get focused, to put our focus on these nefarious forces. We certainly have a right to be angry with them for messing with our world the way they are. I propose that we are all better off when we see these forces and then, as a big FU to them, move beyond them, above them. This doesn't mean necessarily not fighting. This lunar cycle in Capricorn is going to constantly push us to make choices. And sometimes that means standing up for ourselves, for our sovereignty. Silence is not always the answer. And yet, if we can acknowledge that these forces exist, and then further acknowledge that more powerful, loving forces exist, not just Mother Earth, not just in our universe, but throughout the galaxy and the cosmos, then we can tap into the magic and the healing of these loving forces. I will acknowledge as well that it's really hard to do this on our own. This is why community is becoming so important. This is why partnerships and collaborations are becoming so important. We can't be solopreneurs anymore. We have to become collaborapreneurs for those of you who are self-employed or run a business. Likewise, even personally, we're not meant to do all the heavy lifting on our own. We're not meant to drag ourselves up by our fingernails through the dark hole when we fall into it, as I talked about during the new moon video. We have to be willing to surrender and ask for help, whether from those we love, from the divine, or from the cosmos. Let's be clear that surrendering does not mean giving up. It does not mean rolling over and giving up your power. And Lord knows we've seen plenty of that for the last 2+ years to last us the rest of our lives. Surrendering is all about release and letting go. It's letting go of the bracing. Do you ever notice you do that sometimes? I notice that I do that. I'm holding all this tension in my body and I'm bracing. Then once I have the realization that I'm bracing, I can let go of it. We all do it. We all brace in some way. So we have to stop bracing and holding onto our power as tightly as we can. We have to take a deep breath and let it go. Send it out into the universe, to the divine, to the cosmos with a prayer, and then ask for help and watch it come back to us through the magic and the wisdom of the divine. In the meantime, it's really important that we are supporting our health and well-being as naturally as possible. The more we use nature as a healing force, the more we can stay tapped into that Schumann resonance. So if we move away from nature and we're using a lot of pharmaceuticals, then that can impact our frequency. The more we can use nature, natural resources tend to have a higher vibration. Now, I realize that sometimes nature's tools or natural tools are not available, and that's okay. However, the more we can support our health through the tools of Mother Earth and nature, the more we can keep our frequency in tune with Mother Earth and thus the new Earth. I'm thinking that maybe I should do a webinar on how to support our health and well-being naturally for the ascension and for our awakening to the new Earth. I think it's fair to say that I'm a supplement queen. I've been studying naturopathy and supplements and nutrition for a very, very long time. And I take my fair share, but I try to keep it pared down to just the absolute basics, what I really, really need. Otherwise, it gets way too expensive. So let me know if you'd be interested in that kind of a webinar. Either let me know through a comment below or replying to my newsletter if that's how you hear from me. And if I have enough interest, I'll put something together for everyone. It wouldn't be a free webinar. There would be a small charge to it, but let me know if that's something that would be interesting, that you would find interesting and you'd want to sign up for. And of course, it would be recorded if you couldn't make it live. But creating your natural health toolbox for the ascension and the rise to the 5D, it doesn't take a lot, but it does require some effort. Even acknowledging our need for sleep, rest, less activity, less doing, more prayer, and more meditation can be powerful because these are powerful allies for our health and well-being. More importantly, know that you are not alone. Whatever you are feeling, whatever you are experiencing, it is truly part of the shift we are also blessed to be a part of. It is all necessary for the fracturing of the 5D from the 3D. You have all the tools you need, all the love you need, because we're all one. And so our love is all we need. So take a deep breath. Whew. I see you, and you are gorgeous. Now, let's tap in to the energy of the cosmos. First, I made a mistake in the new moon video, referencing Jupiter in Aquarius. I guess I was in a new moon fog because Jupiter is in Pisces. Silly me. I'll touch on his T-square again in this video so you won't miss a beat, or in this case, a wave. The Jupiter T-square is just one of the major transits in a week with many major transits. We also have Venus sextile Neptune, Venus conjunct Juno, and in one of the most important moments of the year, the Venus star point, retrograde Venus conjunct the Sun in Capricorn, beginning a new 4-year cycle in love, abundance, and our awakening to the new Earth. When Venus again conjuncts the Sun in Capricorn in January of 2026, the world will be a very, very, very different place. And with no further ado, Let's get to the astrology for January 2nd, 2022, Part 2 through January 9, 2022. Please note all times listed are Pacific Standard Time. Please adjust according to your time zone. Sunday, January 2nd. Just to recap, the moon is in Stoic Capricorn all day. The new moon in Capricorn occurred at 10:33 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Please listen to that video to hear about this incredible new moon. And there is one major transit today. Mercury in Aquarius trines the North Node in Gemini and sextiles the South Node in Sagittarius at 6:12 p.m. They're all at 1 degree 4 minutes. This is Mercury's last major transit with the nodes in Gemini and Sagittarius respectively before they change signs on January 18th. If you've been asking the divine for signs, you won't be disappointed today. Pay attention to the messages and communication you receive today, especially from friends, social groups, siblings, and your tribe. They may feel fated or destined. You may also feel inclined to get off of Facebook once and for all. Pay attention also to how and what you communicate. Do you have big ideas that you are afraid to communicate because they feel so out there, so unconventional? If those ideas are in service to your soul's path, this transit encourages you to give them voice. Let your freak flag fly. Monday, January 3rd, the waxing moon in Capricorn has a big day. She meets up with retrograde Venus at 1:58 a.m. Later in the morning, she breaks through the boundaries and structures set by the government to speak and then stand in her own truth. She goes void at 12:08 p.m. Pacific Standard Time with a trine to retrograde Ceres. Let yourself get outside to enjoy the pleasures of the winter sun if you can. The moon enters quirky, unconventional, community-oriented, and detached Aquarius at 2:43 p.m. You'll continue to enjoy yesterday's flow of ideas and signs from the divine. There is one major transit today. At 3:38 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Jupiter in Pisces squares the North Node in Gemini and the South Node in Sagittarius. They're all at 1 degree 2 minutes. This is the last major transit for the nodes before they change signs. Leave it to benevolent Jupiter to shine a light on our path, especially if we're feeling stuck in any way. As I said in the new moon video, this T-square urges us with urgency to move towards our purpose and soul path. Otherwise, we could stay locked in old patterns or beliefs that don't serve us. It seems as if we are all moving towards a big choice or decision right now, one that will impact our future because it has the potential to set us on the path towards the new earth and brings us closer to the divine. The longer we delay making the choice and or taking action on a choice, the longer we stay engaged in these old patterns. Sometimes the most important thing we can do is make a choice. It doesn't even matter what that choice is because we can course correct. And we can always learn a lesson from every choice we make. With Jupiter holding space for us here from dreamy and the divine waters of Pisces, you can trust that the divine has your back, meaning that every choice is the right choice in the moment. Jupiter is like a life jacket. You won't sink, but you have to dive in. Tuesday, January 4th, the waxing moon in Aquarius is feeling the disharmony between form and freedom, between old paradigms and new. You may be inclined to turn off technology and instead pick up a book or practice on spirituality or astrology. If you haven't already set an intention for this new moon, today is a good day to do so. And there are no major transits today. Wednesday, January 5th. The waxing moon starts the day in Aquarius. She's tapped into both the chaos and the wisdom of the feminine. She goes void at 1:17 p.m. with a square to the goddess Ceres, who reminds her to reuse and recycle. How can you be more resourceful? She moves into dreamy, intuitive, and emotional Pisces at 4:16 p.m., where she spends the rest of the evening taking a bath. We should do so as well. There is one major transit today. Venus in Capricorn sextiles Neptune in Pisces at 8:03 a.m. They're both at 20 degrees 45 minutes. I'm laughing because Apple auto-corrected sextiles to sexy ass. That is perfect for this transit. This is the second of 3 sextiles between the beautiful maiden and the god of the oceans, the depths, divinity, and dreams. The first one happened on November 30th, and a third will be on February 24th. This time, Venus, beacon of pure love and innocence, is retrograde in Capricorn. She is almost halfway through her retrograde now. Look back to the last 10 months at the love you have poured onto your dreams. What has shifted for you because you have loved your dreams up? What keeps you from surrendering to the immensity of divine love and consciousness? This transit has beautiful energy for loving our dreams, loving ourselves, and connecting to divine consciousness. Allow yourself time to daydream and meditate today. Allow yourself time to offer your prayers to the universe and surrender your heart to all that is good in the world. This is also a beautiful transit to pay attention to your relationships with alcohol, cannabis, and psilocybin, and other plant medicinals. Sometimes we rely on these substances to enhance our intuition and our connection to the divine, but do they actually suppress our pain? Do they actually enhance our intuition and our connection to the divine? Your beautiful, innocent inner child knows exactly how to listen to her intuition and to connect with the divine. Spend some time connecting with her, and you'll see the divine within. Thursday, January 6th, the waxing moon in Pisces is feeling creative, radiant, and determined. Pay attention to whatever intuitive visions you have in the evening. And again, this is another really nice day to set your new moon intention if you haven't done so already. At 9:41 p.m., retrograde Venus makes a gorgeous conjunction with Juno, the goddess of marriage and intimate partnerships, at 19 degrees 48 minutes of Capricorn. This is also their second of 3 conjunctions, but the only one in Capricorn. They came together in Sagittarius on October 31st and will come together in Aquarius on March 28th. Sometimes we need to take a step back in our most beloved relationships. We have to take a moment for ourselves, or perhaps a few days. I know of one couple who have been married for almost 50 years, and the wife decided to take a week away from her husband for the first time ever. The first time in 50 years, she went away by herself. The effect was magical. Her husband told her when she got back that she seemed lighter and more radiant, and perhaps they should do this more often. Sometimes spending some time alone doesn't lessen the love whatsoever. Not just sometimes, all the time. It often allows us to recommit to what's important, to the innocent love we had when we first met, that lovely, passionate, sensual, innocent love, so that we can continue to do the hard yards together. Also today, Pluto in Capricorn enters his retrograde shadow. He's currently at 26 degrees 6 minutes of Capricorn. This is such an amazing time for all of us to step into our sovereignty, our beautiful balance of love and liberation that is our birthright. Pluto moves very slowly through the sky. He won't station retrograde until April 29th. This is a formative time for us as human beings, and also for the United States as a nation, because it will have 3 Pluto returns over the next 11 months. I'll talk more about what this means in the upcoming astrology in February, and I believe Pam Gregory and Kai Pacha also have videos about the Pluto return for the United States, so you can check their YouTube pages. Stepping into our sovereignty is a slow process, and one that can be taken with a ceremony and the due diligence that it deserves. Friday, January 7th. This is a very busy day for the waxing moon. She spends most of the day in dreamy and intuitive Pisces, sprinkling fairy dust wherever she goes. She goes void at 6:21 p.m. with a square to Vesta in Sagittarius, inviting us to study and learn that which is aligned with our soul. Get creative about the adventures of your heroines and heroes' journey. She moves into feisty, independent, and courageous Aries at 9:25 p.m. There are no major transits today, but fasten your seatbelt for tomorrow. Saturday, January 8th. This is a big day astrologically and perhaps the biggest day for Venus during her retrograde cycle. She is officially at the halfway point. First, the waxing moon in Aries has a lot to say, especially around her wounds and frustrations. Have you noticed that some people become more self-centered the more they orient to the fear energy? I'm sure it's nothing that people are doing purposefully. It's simply that the more they tap into the fear, the more physical and mental symptoms they experience, and it can become an obsession, a self-absorption, so they forget to ask other people how they are. That's the potential of this moon energy today. So as I talk to you about all of the astrology for today, know that people are going to be especially in tune with and sensitive to their own suffering. So, there are 4 major transits today, 3 involving Pallas Athena in Pisces, and 2 involving retrograde Venus and the Sun in Capricorn. First, Mars in Sagittarius squares Pallas Athena in Pisces at 2:06 a.m. They're both at 18 degrees, 23 minutes. This is really supportive energy for having the courage to take a mental adventure or an actual physical adventure wherever you dream of going. How many college students choose a major that they think is practical or will make them a lot of money, but it's not their calling, and it doesn't help them create the world they want to live in? And how many people postpone vacations or travel because of fear? This transit gives you the courage to book your flight or register for that class that you've been dreaming of. Your knowledge and beliefs can align. They absolutely can align with the deepest desires of your soul. This is how the universe works. Don't let your fears and beliefs shaped by old paradigms stop you any longer. Then, the Sun in Capricorn sextiles Pallas Athena in Pisces at 11:37 a.m. They're both at 18 degrees, 29 minutes. So we had first Mars in Sagittarius square Pallas Athena. Now the Sun is sextiling Pallas Athena. This transit might make you feel like a smarty pants, and rightly so. You are so wise. Take a moment to shine your light, your gorgeous, radiant light, on the wisdom that resides in your third eye. This plays right here between your eyes, right inside there, right in the center. That's your third eye, or your 6th chakra. Find a quiet spot, close your eyes, and acknowledge all of the wisdom that comes from your intuition and your soul. So often through signs and messages from the divine and the cosmos. Ask the universe to help you create a strategy through hard work and determination, as well as with help from the universe, so that your most beautiful dream can come true in both expected and unexpected ways. Then, dare I say it, comes one of the most significant transits of the lunar cycle and the year. At 4:47 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the Sun and retrograde Venus come together at 18 degrees, 43 minutes of Capricorn for what is known as the Venus star point. Venus meets up with the Sun approximately every 41 weeks, about 10 lunar cycles, or the same amount of time as a normal pregnancy. That is not a coincidence. At least, I don't think so. I could talk and take an entire video about Venus's incredible and gorgeous orbit around the Sun, which after 13 Venusian orbits or 8 Earth years makes what's called the Venus rose. And I could do a whole webinar on the significance of the Venus star point as it pertains to our natal chart and to our lives as they progress over the years. Of course, this isn't that time because we're in Capricorn season. We don't have time for that because there is too much work to be done. So, in true Capricorn fashion, let's talk about what really matters most for this transit. This transit marks the beginning of both a new 4-year cycle as well as an 8-year cycle. This is because Venus comes together with the Sun in Capricorn every 4 years, and every other time is retrograde. So think back to where you were in January of 2018, the last time Venus and the Sun conjuncted for their star point in Capricorn. So Venus was direct at that time. Then think back to January of 2014, the last time Venus was retrograde and conjuncted the Sun in Capricorn. I spoke about this some in the Juicy Astrology for December 19th when Venus stationed retrograde. But I had mentioned that for myself in January of 2014, I was just starting a new job at Apple and was totally disillusioned about what was going to happen there. I definitely lost some innocence. And then just thinking right now, in January of 2018, I was working as a nurse manager. I was managing a clinic, and I was just about to enter into an EEO issue because I was being harassed by an employee. So my Venus was saying I absolutely had to stand up for myself in the professional world. And Capricorn is that professional world. So Venus has been saying very clearly, yo, stand up for yourself, lady. I'm a little daft. Sometimes it takes me a while to learn the lesson, but I think I'm there now. Sometimes when Venus is conjunct the Sun, she's considered combust. She is hot, except hot is not really a word I would use to describe Capricorn. I think the better phrase is sovereign queen. Venus here is regal, upright, and stunningly beautiful, and she is radiating all of the Sun's light and glory. At least we have to trust that she is regal, upright, and stunningly beautiful, because in her proximity to the Sun, we can't see her in either the morning or evening sky. She's considered in her rest or her reset. This is a time to go deep within ourselves, to connect with our inner child and inner maiden, to shine our light inward so that we can again radiate our delight outward. Take some time today to close your eyes and imagine yourself held firmly in the embrace of Mother Earth. Let her warmth and her love permeate your entire being. Let yourself relax and release all of your fears and wounds so that you can soak in her love and eventually bask in your own light. Keep an eye out in the early morning sky as Venus should start to be visible again as a morning star around January 14th. Some traditions say that Venus is a warrior as a morning star. And certainly, I think it's fair to say that she will be a warrior for the new Earth. A love warrior. And finally, for today, Venus in Capricorn sextiles Pallas Athena in Pisces at 9:08 p.m. They're both at 18 degrees, 36 minutes. So first today we had Mars squaring Pallas, and then we had the Sun sextiling Pallas. Then we had Venus and the Sun conjuncting, and now finally we have Venus sextiling Pallas herself. This is Venus's last major transit of her retrograde. We'll feel her energy still, but she will be quietly preparing for the many initiations she faces in the weeks and months ahead. With this transit, Pallas, the goddess of strategy, diplomacy, and negotiation, is sharing her wisdom with Venus. She reminds Venus that there is no better strategy than listening to our intuition. She also shares with Venus that it's okay to fight and be a warrior sometimes. Now, granted, we can't be like Eris all the time, lobbing a bomb into a crowd to see how people react without a strategy. Lobbing the bomb into the crowd to see how people react is not necessarily the best strategy. And yet there are times we do need to fight, to put an arrow on our bow, to aim, and to hit the target. And finally, Sunday, January 9th. The waxing moon is on fire. She's not going to let anyone or anything stop her today from getting what she wants. She has her first quarter square with the sun in Capricorn at 10:11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's the ideal time to take action towards cultivating the seed of your new moon intention. There are two major transits today. First, Neptune in Pisces sextiles Juno in Capricorn at 12:27 p.m. They're both at 20 degrees 50 minutes. This is such a lovely moment for Neptune, who represents dreams, divinity, and the depths, and Juno, the goddess of marriage and intimate partnerships, especially given Venus's sextile to Neptune and conjunction to Juno earlier this week. What dreams do you and your beloved share together? Allow yourself to commit to sensuality and really deep intimacy with this transit. In those moments when relationships just feel like hard work, we have to stop all that work and reconnect with the divinity inside each other, those deep places that bind us in love. Jupiter in Capricorn is committed because she is sovereign. She is her own being in the relationship. And she is committed because she knows that that's the only way for a relationship to thrive. This is beautiful energy for loving couples to connect physically, emotionally, sensually, and spiritually. And if you're not in a partnership right now, this is a beautiful energy to connect with yourself physically, emotionally, sensually, and spiritually. Allow yourself the space to connect through the unbearable lightness of being. If you remember that book and movie from Milan Kundera, allow yourself to connect through rapture and bliss. Be mindful of connecting through hallucinogenic substances or alcohol. I know I say that a lot with Neptune, but it's absolutely true. Be very careful of this, especially if that's the only way you're able to connect with your beloved at a deep spiritual level. I love you, and it pains me when I see people deluding themselves, Neptune and Pisces, that their intimate relationship is thriving, but only through wine or plant medicine. Trust me, I've been in a relationship like that before, and eventually it will unravel because the love isn't there. It's all based on this delusion around the alcohol or around the substance. With Neptune and Pisces, the right relationship will take you to that place of bliss without the plant medicine or the alcohol. Then, Mercury in Aquarius sextiles Chiron in Aries at 6:07 p.m. They're both at 8 degrees 38 minutes. This is the first of 3 closing sextiles between the messenger and the wounded healer. I expect that there will continue to be major marketing pushes around the big O, and I don't mean the orgasms of the Neptune and Juno sextile, and getting injected. That's very much the shadow side of this transit. The 3D mainstream collective is yelling at everyone to go along, to conform, and be a good little citizen. This energy is strengthened because Uranus and Taurus will continue to encourage us for the next 4 years that we don't want to return to the old normal. We want to create a new normal. For the collective 3D mainstream, that new normal is based on boosters and conforming. It's the shame and blame collective. I heard a really powerful statement from a viral video the other day, and she said, "You choose. Do you want to be the victim or the victor?" This low vibration of this transit is being the victim. On the other hand, the higher vibration that we can glean from this transit is to share the message of accountability and responsibility for self. Because Uranus and Taurus is also encouraging us to create new sustainable systems that honor the resources of the earth as well as our individual physical body. And there's 2 things here. One is that 99% of pharmaceuticals, including jabs, are very harmful to Mother Earth, to the planet. So for anyone who considers themselves an environmentalist, I hope that you are voting with your dollars so that pharmaceutical companies are creating more sustainable products. Now, also, This is really important because our bodies are absolute miracles, even if the mainstream healthcare systems act like they must rely on pharmaceuticals for our well-being, for our survival. That's just nonsense. Our bodies are miracles, and that is the message we should be shouting from the rooftops. These glorious bodies are resilient and powerful. The state of our health is directly reflected in how we care for our bodies. Think of all the amazing healers you know who are out there doing the hard yards, going against the mainstream to share this message of resilience. Be the victor. Oh, beauties, how incredibly grateful I am to be on this journey with you. I know Capricorn is asking us to work really hard, but more importantly, it's asking us to commit to the new earth and the role we want to play in creating the beautiful communities who are ready to thrive as part of the 5D paradigm within the new earth. The challenge is to endure the fracture from the 3D world and still take steps forward towards the new earth. For some of us, no, I think for most of us actually, this also means committing to resting our mind, body, and spirit as needed so that our bodies can upgrade to this new energy. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, do let me know via a quick reply to my newsletter or through a comment below if you would be interested in a webinar on supporting your health and well-being through this incredible ascension. There would be a small charge for the webinar. I think it's worth it, but the bigger question is if you would find it valuable. If you feel like a one-on-one would be more helpful, I invite you to book a session with me at www.divinelyjennifer.com. I offer both astrology and health readings as well as supplement consultations for those who want to dive right into their health. I love you so. Thank you so much for being a part of this beautiful community of awakening souls. I'm Divinely Jennifer, and I'll see you the next time.